My family used me as their personal bank for years, then cut me from my sister's wedding planning after I'd already paid $10,000. So I canceled every vendor contract, froze their company cards, and exposed the fraud that nearly destroyed them. You're out of the wedding planning. Aidan thinks it's best. I stared at that text message for a full minute, waiting for the follow-up that never came. No explanation. No thank you for the $8,000 I'd already put down. Just one line in a group chat that included my own parents, and neither of them said a word. It was around 10 at night, and I was still at the office finishing a commercial proposal worth 50 grand for one of our recurring clients. I've been working 16-hour days for 2 months straight to close this deal, and I remember feeling this weird mix of exhaustion and satisfaction right before my phone buzzed. The company needed this contract. I needed this win. Then that text came through, and something inside me just went quiet. I'm Liam Foster. I'm 32, and I run operations for a family construction business, Foster Construction and Design. My dad, Robert, started it back in the late 90s, and I've spent the last decade turning it from a chaotic mess into something that actually makes money. My mom, Victoria, handles what she calls customer relations, which mostly means long lunches and gossip sessions with clients' wives. And my sister, Olivia, she doesn't work there. She's trying to be an influencer, posting selfies with captions about manifestation and self-love, while her fiancé, Aidan, floats around talking about his next big opportunity. I call home. Mom picked up on the third ring. "Don't start the drama, Liam," she said before I could even speak. Drama? I kept my voice level. "I just got a text saying I'm out of the wedding. I've already paid $8,000 for this thing. You're making everything about money again." She said it like I committed some unforgivable sin by keeping track of my own expenses. I heard Dad's voice in the background, that familiar, dismissive tone. "Let them handle it, Liam. You're too controlling." "I'm handling the bills you told me to handle," I said. "That's what I was doing, Dad. You always make things harder than they need to be." I hung up before I said something worse. I sat back in my office chair and looked around the empty space. There was a framed photo from last year's company cookout on my desk. Everyone smiling, including Olivia and Aidan, who'd called me the family rock back then. I opened my laptop and pulled up my files, then sent a message to Lily, our bookkeeper. Back up every document with my name on it. All of it. She was working late too, finishing payroll. "All of it?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. "Yeah. Contracts, invoices, accounts, everything I signed or paid for." She didn't ask why. She'd worked with me long enough to know when something was wrong. While she compiled the backup, I went through my email receipts. The venue deposit, $3,500 on my personal credit card. The florist deposit, $500. The tuxedo rentals were billed to Foster Enterprises under my name because it was more convenient. The honeymoon deposit was in my name because Aidan's credit limit was too low. I opened my spreadsheet and added a new line at the bottom. Wedding expenses so far, $9,750. I wasn't angry, honestly. I just suddenly understood how easy it had been for them to cut me out of something I'd practically built for them. Olivia had been panicking for months about Aidan's inconsistent income. And Mom kept saying, "Don't worry, Liam will handle it." So I did what I'd always done. I remember back to December when a venue needed a deposit. Olivia called crying about how they'd lose the date if they didn't pay that day. I paid it. Then came the dress. She said she'd Venmo me next week. That was 4 months ago. Then there was the company payroll issue. Dad said, "Spot us for 2 weeks, son." We got a slow client. I covered it. 2 weeks turned into 6. It wasn't one big betrayal. It was 100 small ones, and I'd let them all slide. Lily finished the backup and handed me a flash drive. "Here." I slipped it in my pocket. "Thanks. Go home. I'll lock up." Before I left, I deleted the wedding group chat from my phone. Not the old family thread, that one I just muted. This was the wedding-only chat. Then I logged into my work email and created a new folder for wedding payments. I moved every confirmation, invoice, and receipt into it. The list took up half my screen. The office was dark except for the glow of my monitor. That client quote was still open, waiting for the final numbers. I saved the file, closed my laptop, and turned off the lights. My phone vibrated as I walked out. A text from Mom. "Please don't make this harder for your sister." No apology. No, let's talk about this. Just another order disguised as a request. I didn't reply. By the time I got to the parking lot, the night air felt cold. I stood there for a moment, staring back at the office windows, thinking about how much time I'd wasted trying to keep everyone else's world spinning while mine stayed on hold. That's when it clicked. If they wanted me out of the wedding, fine. They could be out of my money, my patience, and my free labor fixing every mess they created. I got in my truck, put the flash drive in the center console, and started the engine. They cut me out with a group text, I said to nobody. Then I shifted into drive. Fine, they can handle the bill. The next morning, I sat down at my desk and started checking every account that had my name on it. Every transaction, every invoice. It wasn't rage driving me. It was curiosity that had finally run out of patience. Dad had used the same lines my entire life. You're lucky you make more. We'll pay you back when the refinance goes through. There was always another refinance. Another excuse. I kept fixing everything because that's what I'd always done. While going through receipts, I thought about how this pattern never stopped. Even at work, Dad bragged about me to clients. My son's the brains of this place. Then call me kid in front of the crew. I'd grown this company into something organized, profitable, and stable, but I was still treated like a spare part they could replace whenever it suited them. Around lunchtime, our attorney Samuel Grant stopped by to finalize some permits for a small commercial project. He's the type who discusses problems like they're minor paperwork issues. We went over signatures and project numbers, and everything seemed fine until he flipped through a folder and said, "By the way, that ownership transfer went through. Aidan's now a 15% partner." I froze. Partner in what? Samuel pointed to the company name in the header. Foster Construction. I frowned. With what money? He squinted at the file. They reclassified your prior loan advances as a capital contribution under your name, then issued Aidan 15% against that papered equity. I sat there in complete silence for 10 seconds. You're telling me I paid for it? He shrugged. That's what it says. He closed the folder. I assumed you approved it. He left before I could stand up. I walked straight to Lily's desk. She looked up confused. We're changing access, I said. Today. What? All company cards except mine. Cancel them. Turn off auto payments. Move active logins to my account only. Do it quietly. She hesitated. That's going to upset them. They'll live, I said. She opened her laptop. Start with Amex. I stood with her until she confirmed the deactivation email. I wasn't taking any more chances. Back in my office, I logged into our bank account and reviewed recent spending. Several payments labeled consultancy fee and marketing incentive were in Aidan's name. They hadn't been there 2 weeks earlier. I took screenshots of everything and saved them to a flash drive. I opened my drawer and pulled out all my paper statement from the last year. Every line told the same story. Me paying, them promising. Around 3, Mom called. I answered because I knew she'd keep trying. Your father says the company cards aren't working, she said. They're canceled. Why would you do that? Aidan needs access now that he's a partner. He can use his own, I said. That's not very supportive, Liam. I'm done supporting grown adults, I told her. If you wanted him to have control, you should have used your money. Not mine. She sighed heavily into the phone. You're always so cold. Maybe if you stopped taking advantage, I'd warm up again. I hung up. By late afternoon, I'd changed passwords, updated signatures, and made encrypted email backups. Lily came in with printed confirmation reports. All cards but yours are disabled. Auto pays off. Payroll lists on your desk. Thanks, I said. Go home early. She nodded, still looking concerned. When she left, I pulled up the accounts payable vendor list. Most of them matched our regular suppliers. But 2 names stood out, both tied to Aidan's consulting connections. I'd never met them. No W-9s, no addresses. Shell vendors. I saved copies and compiled the vendor mismatches into a clean file. Then I emailed it to myself. Subject line, personal record. Like I'd done 100 times before when covering up my family's messes. Only this time, I wasn't covering anything up. At 6, Dad stormed in, furious. What the hell did you do to the cards? They were being misused, I said. You don't get to decide that. I just did, I said. If Aidan's a partner, he can cover his own expenses. His face flushed red. You think you're smarter than everyone else? No, I said, packing on my laptop. Just more careful. He started another sentence, but I was already out the door. That night at home, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, adding one last note to the spreadsheet I'd created the night before. Personal funds spent on family or company, unreimbursed, $30,000. Next to it, I typed one line, no more. I closed the laptop and stared at the dark screen for a moment. I've been raised to believe that being responsible meant fixing everything, paying, managing, smoothing things over. Turns out, all it did was make me an easy target. The next morning, I was done thinking about it. I got to the office early, opened my laptop, and pulled up every wedding vendor contract still in my name. First one, the venue. I called, gave him the contract number, and said cancel it. The booking under Liam Foster. The manager paused for a moment, then confirmed. Refunds go back to the original card. I went down the list. Florist, caterer, tuxedo rental, honeymoon booking agency. Every call was short and polite. I didn't explain or justify. When they asked what happened, I said, plans changed. Refund confirmations started arriving in my inbox by that afternoon. The funds posted over the next few business days. I created a new folder on my desktop. Refunds confirmed. I dropped each PDF inside as soon as it arrived. That stack would become Exhibit A. It felt like sorting laundry. No emotion involved, just cleaning up what was already mine. By 10 o'clock, I was halfway through reviewing job site invoices when the office door crashed open. Aidan walked in wearing his usual too-tight shirt and bad cologne. "You can't just pull funding," he said, his voice sharp. I didn't even look up. "It wasn't funding," I said. "It was a refund. Big difference." He stepped up to my desk. "You think you're hurting me? You're just screwing over your sister." "Then maybe she should have checked who signed the checks before she sent that text," I said. He stood there breathing heavily, trying to look tough. "You got a problem with me? Take it up directly," he said. "I am," I replied. "You're terminated as an employee. Partner or not, you're cut off from spending and systems. Leave the office." He laughed. "You can't cut me off. I'm a partner." "Then use your 15% to pay your own vendors," I said. "Conversation's over." He opened his mouth again, but I pointed to the door. "Out." He stayed there a few seconds longer, then shouldered past. He came dangerously close to Lily's desk. A single sheet of paper slid to the floor. He didn't look back. Lily glanced at me as she picked it up. "What was that about?" "Nothing I can't handle," I said. "Just clearing out more dead weight." Soon after, Dad arrived. His tone was the same mix of irritation and fake authority he used whenever he thought yelling would solve problems. I just got a call from Aidan. "What the hell are you doing?" "Cleaning up my accounts," I said. "You're making a scene. The wedding's next month." "Then maybe use your card next time," I suggested, gathering files. "Don't walk away from me, Liam." I walked past him anyway. "I'm not walking away. I'm just done being your bank." I left him standing in the hallway, red-faced and stammering. By afternoon, my phone had blown up. First, Mom's texts, "You've gone too far." Then Olivia's post showed up on social media. She wrote a long caption about how her toxic brother had ruined her special day out of jealousy. When people need others to side with them, they post things like this. I didn't comment. I didn't even read the whole thing. But by evening, the comments had turned. People were asking who'd paid for what. Some of our relatives jumped in, reminding her who'd paid the deposits. Then screenshots started appearing. Old photos of me signing venue papers. Messages from her thanking me for paying. I didn't leak anything, but the internet doesn't need help finding receipts. Mom called 3 times that night. I let it ring. Dad texted once. "Fix this before you embarrass everyone." I didn't respond to him either. When I arrived the next morning, Lily was already at her desk. She looked nervous. "Your family's all over Facebook," she said. I figured. I told her. She paused. "You okay?" I checked my inbox. Another set of refund confirmations had arrived overnight. I filed them without looking at her. "Better than before," I said. She nodded and went back to work. For the rest of the day, I kept my head down. I treated every email, phone call, and project like normal maintenance. That's exactly what it was, maintenance. I wasn't sabotaging anything. I was just removing my name from the chaos. By evening, I'd shut down the computer and sat for a moment in the silence. The office was empty again, just like the night I got that text. The only difference was the weight was gone. No outstanding balances. No split payments. No fake gratitude waiting to expire. Just clean books. My phone vibrated one more time. Olivia texted. Just one line. "I hope you're happy." I set the phone face down on my desk and stood up. They wanted a villain to blame. Fine. They could have one. I locked the door, turned off the lights, and walked out of the building. By early summer, everything had fractured. The family group chat I'd muted months ago started lighting up again. I only looked because the notifications wouldn't stop. "You owe your sister happiness. You'll embarrass us if you don't fix this." I left it unread after that. The next morning, I started getting calls from vendors we'd worked with for years. The first was Evergreen Supply, which handled our lumber orders. The manager sounded uneasy. "Hey, Liam, just wanted to double-check the new billing email. It says EH Consulting now. Is that legit?" I froze for a second. "Where did you get that address?" "From Robert. He said it was the updated office contact." "Don't send anything to it," I told him. "Keep using the old invoices. Nothing changes until I say otherwise." After hanging up, I checked the company email. Sure enough, a new thread had appeared that morning. "Forwarded contracts from Dad's account to Aidan at ehconsulting.com. No explanation, no copy from me or Lily. Just quietly redirecting funds. Aidan was trying to build his own side door into our accounts. I walked out to the main office. Lily was typing rapidly, looking scared. "They're acting weird," she said. "Your mom and Aidan both called asking for the master invoice log. Said they needed to adjust billing dates." "Don't send it," I said. She nodded. "They said you told me to." "I didn't." She hesitated. "They also want me to sign last month's purchase orders retroactively. Backdated to March." "Did you?" "No," I said. "Good. Keep copies of everything they ask for. Every text, every file. Don't argue with them. Just save it somewhere safe." Her voice dropped. "Liam, this is fraud, isn't it?" "Maybe," I said. "Just protect yourself. I'll handle the rest." I went back to my office, closed the door, and checked the shared drives. Half the company folders had been renamed. Aidan's initials were on all of them. EH_jobs, EH_core, payroll consolidation files. He was trying to build a mirror company out of ours, using our relationships and contracts. In June, the accounting software started sending duplicate vendor alerts. Nobody acted on them. That afternoon, Dad walked in without knocking. His shirt was untucked, his face flushed. "What the hell are you doing locking us out of our own system?" "I didn't lock you out," I said. "You try to create new ones. I'm hearing from suppliers saying you're blocking payments." "I'm blocking fraud." "Watch your mouth, kid," he snapped. "You don't call your father a fraud. Then stop approving fake invoices." He stared at me like he wasn't sure whether to yell or throw something. Instead, he said, "You're destroying this family." "No," I said. "You did that when you let Aidan touch the books." He slammed the door on his way out. Later that week, I started hearing whispers from foremen on the construction sites. Subcontractors were complaining they hadn't been paid in 2 months. I checked our expense log. The payments were marked as sent, but the account numbers didn't match our regular vendors. Aidan's email trail was all over them. I called one of the subcontractors directly. "This is Liam from Foster Construction. Have you received your payment for May?" "Not a dime," the guy said. "We were told to resubmit the invoice to a new address." "Some consulting firm." "What name?" "EH Consulting." I stopped pretending to be surprised. That night, after everyone had left, I sat in the darkened office with only the monitor lighting the room. I went through every accounting folder I could access and downloaded everything. Transactions, pay stubs, bank statements, every questionable entry linked to Aidan's name. When it was done, I created an encrypted archive on my drive. It took 3 hours. Every file and document had to be double-checked, renamed, and dated. I didn't alter or delete anything from the company servers. I just made sure I had a clean record of what happened before anyone tried to rewrite history. By midnight, I had a complete record of what my family had become. Fake vendors, misdirected payments, and a growing pile of unpaid invoices. The next morning, Lily looked exhausted. She said Robert had shown up at a worksite and started ranting at the crew, accusing them of ruining the company. He claimed the underpaid subs were the result of office mistakes. Some guys threatened to walk. One quit on the spot. I told her to stay out of it and keep her head down. "Don't take calls from my parents," I said. "If they need something, they can come through me." She grimaced. "Liam, how bad is it?" "Bad enough that I'm keeping everything backed up," I said. "That's all you need to know." By the weekend, the company atmosphere had died. Clients were calling about delays. Employees were questioning if they'd still get paid. And my parents kept pretending everything was fine. At home, Mom left another voicemail. "I don't understand why you're trying to hurt us. Family should stick together." I deleted it before listening to the rest. The truth was, I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was just making sure their mess didn't bury me too. That Sunday night, I sat down at my kitchen table again. The flash drive from before was plugged into my laptop. I opened my encrypted archive and started scrolling through the files. Vendor lists, payroll, bank transactions, hundreds of emails. They used to call me the safety net. Now I was just documenting whatever fell through it. By July, things had hit a breaking point. Every day, the office felt heavier. Quiet hallways, dropped calls, half the staff walking on eggshells. That morning, I arrived early to finalize a bid and found Robert and Aidan already waiting in my office. Both were standing with arms crossed. It wasn't a meeting. This was an ambush. Robert spoke first. "We've had complaints," he said. "From who?" I asked. "Clients," he said tersely. "They're nervous. You're cutting people off, questioning invoices, making it look like we're disorganized." I looked at Aidan. "We are disorganized." Aidan jumped in. "This attitude is the problem. You're making everyone think something shady is going on." "There is something shady going on," I said quietly. You rerouted vendor payments to your shell company. Robert slammed his hand on the desk. Enough. You're not accusing family of theft. I'm stating facts, I said. He stepped closer. You're out of control. You're making us look bad. I met his eyes. I stopped making you look good. He exhaled and switched to his fake calm voice. We need to take a step back. A temporary leave. Just until things cool down. I understood what that meant. So, you're firing me? No, he said quickly. Just a break. Right, I said. Send me the paperwork. Aidan smiled like he'd won something. We'll have our attorney draw it up. I nodded, sat down, and waited while Robert pulled a document from his briefcase. The papers had already been printed. He didn't even bother hiding it. Sign here, acknowledging voluntary leave, he said. I skimmed it. Standard release. No severance, no liabilities. I signed it. Problem solved. Good, Robert said, relaxing slightly. We'll handle things from here. I'm sure you will. Before they could say anything else, I turned on my computer, plugged in my flash drive, and quietly transferred the remaining files from the shared system. Project files, communications, payroll data, final reports. Aidan noticed and started to object, but I cut him off. It's my work. I'm taking what's mine. When the progress bar hit 100%, I ejected the drive, put it in my pocket, and stood up. We're done here. Robert tried to add something about family loyalty, but I'd already walked past them. Neither followed. That afternoon, I was at home going through emails when the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Olivia stood there with smeared mascara and shaky hands. I opened the door halfway. You ruined everything, she said quickly. You couldn't handle not being in charge, so you burned it all down. No, I said. I stopped paying for your fantasy. You're unbelievable, she said. You're supposed to be my brother. I was, right up until you cut me out in a group text. She started crying, then yelling again. It all came out in waves. The wedding was canceled. People were gossiping. Mom thought I'd lost it. I didn't interrupt. I just stood there until she ran out of things to say. My laptop pinged on the desk behind me. The venue manager had sent an email. Per your request, we have reinstated the original wedding booking. Please confirm payment details. I opened it and read it again. The message matched my style. Same subject line, same signature block. I pulled the full headers. The original IP address resolved to my parents' house Wi-Fi. I turned the screen to face Olivia. Tell Mom to at least change the subject line next time. She froze, her face draining of color. What are you talking about? I'm talking about your family impersonating me to steal back a reservation I paid for. That's not true, she said, but her voice cracked halfway through. I closed the laptop and stepped back from the door. You should go. Olivia hesitated for a moment, then left without saying anything else. Only the sound of her tires peeling off broke the silence. That night, I went through the company insurance folder. It was something I'd ignored for years because it was always buried under tax filings and renewal notices. This time, I took my time. Halfway through, I found a key person policy that listed me as the insured. 3 months ago, someone had filed an ownership change from Foster Construction to Victoria Foster, followed by a beneficiary update naming Olivia. Premium payments were still being processed through the company. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the document. They'd set it up so if anything happened to me, she could collect. I laughed once. Not angry, just exhausted. It felt like confirmation of what I already knew. They didn't see me as family anymore. Just a resource. My phone vibrated on the table. A text from Mom. You'll regret crossing us. I texted back. Already don't. I turned off the phone and started a new spreadsheet. I called it Clean Report July, something a court reporter might say without thinking twice. I started listing every transaction tied to me. Loans, reimbursements, deposits, refunds. Everything. No vulterations, no opinions. Just truth. I labeled the file Exhibit B in my notes and saved it twice when I finished. Once locally, once on the drive. They expected me to fight, but there was nothing left to fight about. They wanted chaos. I wanted records. By fall, the Fosters were pretending everything was fine again. Olivia and Aidan had a quick courthouse wedding. No dress, no guests, just a photo in front of a brick wall with a caption, "Simple love beats big drama." It looked like a hostage photo. I didn't comment or text. A week later, she messaged me again. Can I borrow $5,000 to get ahead on bills? Aidan's commission hasn't cleared yet. I stared at the message for a moment before responding. Sure, you'll get a loan agreement shortly. I opened a contract template from my files, added her name, set the interest rate at 6% for 6 months, and included a collateral clause using her engagement ring as security if the loan defaulted. No manipulation, just clear legal language. I signed it and sent it as a PDF. 2 hours later, the document came back with her digital signature at the bottom. No message attached. I transferred the funds. No emojis. No congratulations. Business only. The next morning, I met Lily at a cafe near the industrial park. She looked tired but calm. I slid 2 thin folders across the table. One labeled Refunds Confirmed, the other a collection of company accounts. She looked at them, then at me. Are you sure you want me to file this? Yes, I said. Submit everything clean. No favors for anyone. Not for me, not for them. She opened the folders and flipped through the pages. There are a lot of mismatched numbers here. I know. Don't fix them. Just file them the right way. She nodded slowly. This is going to raise questions. Good, I said. We ate breakfast, mostly in silence. When we stood to leave, she paused. Liam, if this goes south, they're going to blame you. They already did, I said. This just gives them a reason they can't argue with. Over the next 2 weeks, Lily completed the company's year-end bookkeeping. She didn't hide anything. Every duplicate invoice, every fraudulent vendor, every expense in Aidan's name. The system reconciliation software flagged the discrepancies automatically. After that, we had no control over anything else. It didn't take long. Within 10 days, she sent me a brief email from our accounting software vendor. The subject line read, Account irregularities detected. Flag to your connected external CPA. Audit-ready packet available upon request. She added one line underneath. It's done. I replied, thank you. That was all. No big speech, no panic. Just a process doing what it was designed to do. Record and correct. A few days later, I packed up some items for Olivia. I didn't know her a gift, but I wanted to close the loop. I used a matte black box, simple and clean. Inside, I placed a printed copy of her signed loan agreement, the actual refund receipt from the wedding venue, and a small metal plaque engraved with 3 words, paid in full. I left the box with the front desk clerk at her apartment complex. No note. She'd understand either way. That evening, my phone vibrated with a voicemail. Samuel Grant, the family lawyer, sounding cautious. Hey, Liam, just a heads up. The auditors requested full company records. Not sure what triggered it, but it's official now. Call me back when you can. I didn't call him back. I listened once, then saved and deleted it. At that point, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even curious about how it would turn out. I'd spent months watching my family exploit every situation to their advantage. The system they'd exploited was finally paying attention. It wasn't revenge. It was math. Every action had a record. Every lie had a timestamp. All I did was stop cleaning up their mess. After that, things quieted down at work. I still had side projects and a few loyal clients who'd follow me from the firm. I didn't tell anyone what happened. I kept working, filing, documenting. Lily came by with a flash drive containing backup copies, just in case. That weekend, I put it in my safe and labeled it Company 2025 Final. A week later, I learned through a mutual contact that Aidan was panicking about tax issues. He started calling everyone he knew, claiming the system had glitched and scrambled their accounts. Typical. My parents kept acting like nothing was wrong, telling people that payroll had been delayed due to a bureaucratic error. I didn't say anything. The truth doesn't need help. That night, sitting at my kitchen table, I created a new spreadsheet. I labeled it Post-Company Assets and listed my balances, savings, and upcoming projects. All clean, all honest. The phone vibrated again. Mom sent a text this time. Just one line. You should fix this before it gets worse. I didn't reply. There was nothing to fix. I turned off my phone, closed the laptop, and sat back in my chair. They'd built their empire on silence and favors. I'd built mine on documentation. I didn't expose them. I just stopped lying for them. By winter, the letters started arriving. Thick white envelopes marked with state seals and long reference numbers. They went straight to the foster house. The first ones demanded paperwork, tax corrections, and account reviews. Every week, another one showed up. A contact who still worked in the office told me the stack on Robert's desk looked like a miniature phone book. He was ranting every morning, pacing between his office and the break room, blaming clerical errors and snitches. Then it hit the rest of them. Olivia's car got repossessed right outside her workplace parking lot. Someone filmed it and shared it online. She tried to spin it with a caption, dealing with haters and financial stress, but staying positive. The comments were brutal. Mom rushed to Facebook again, saying the unjust system was targeting small family businesses. She portrayed herself as a mother victimized by bureaucracy. Robert posted his own rant about betrayal by one's own blood. People shared screenshots of both posts with laughing emojis. Foster construction was unofficially declared dead in January. Suppliers were talking about unpaid balances, fraudulent invoices, and missing checks. Clients pulled out of contracts. The name Foster became a warning. Not a reference. I stayed quiet. I still had copies of everything, but I didn't need to use them. The truth was already working on its own. Then came a lawsuit. A courier arrived at my door with a thick envelope marked civil complaint. The Fosters, my parents and Aidan, were suing me for business sabotage and willful interference with operations. I read it once. The claims were vague, with emotion disguised as legal language. They sought damages, reputational restoration, and even court costs. I called the number listed for their attorney. Samuel Grant. Did you really file this? I asked. He exhaled. They insisted. I advised against it. When's the deposition? 2 weeks. He paused before hanging up. Liam, you might actually want to come to this one. The deposition took place in a plain downtown office. No judge, no drama. Just a long table, a court reporter, and a stack of documents. My parents sat on one side, arms crossed, faces tight. Aidan looked like he hadn't slept in days. Olivia didn't show. Their lawyer started by reciting claims about how I disrupted systems, restricted access, and triggered a financial audit in retaliation. When it was my turn, I said one line. I left in July. The system started flagging vendor discrepancies in June. The formal audit kicked off in September. I didn't trigger anything. My attorney slid a document across the table. That's accurate, he said. The accounting platform began auto-flagging those discrepancies in June, before Mr. Foster left. The external audit engagement began in September. That sequence is documented. Robert's face fell. Mom muttered something under her breath. Aidan just stared at the table. Their lawyer tried to push back, but my attorney kept talking. For the record, there's documentation of all transactions, and none point to Liam Foster as the source of the problem. The court reporter paused long enough to feel the air leave the room. Their lawyer closed his folder. No further questions. We adjourned. On his way out, my attorney slid 2 folders across the table. One marked refunds confirmed as Exhibit A, and Clean Report July as Exhibit B. No speeches, just labels. Later, Robert caught up with me in the hallway. His voice shook. You destroyed this family's name. I looked at him. I didn't destroy anything. I balanced it. He didn't respond. He just walked away, muttering about loyalty. That afternoon, I signed my final separation paperwork. The company owed me unpaid vacation pay and a small percentage of prior projects. I accepted the payment by direct transfer only, and that was it. A week later, their attorney sent a notice of voluntary dismissal. By February, I'd started my own firm, Foster Ledger Group. 1 person, 1 desk, 1 laptop. I didn't want crews or overhead. Just small business clients needing clean records and honest advice. I worked quietly from a leased office downtown. A few old contacts found me through word of mouth. The work wasn't flashy, but it was steady. Lily helped me set up the systems. She was already working as a freelance accountant by that point. Feels weird starting over, she said one night as we reviewed new client files. It's better this way, I said. Smaller, cleaner. She smiled. And quieter. Exactly. The next morning, I walked into my small office, made coffee, and opened my client dashboard. The sun hit the blinds just right, and for the first time in years, I felt no obligation to anyone. They called it betrayal. I call it balance. I didn't abandon the family. I just stopped carrying them. 3 months later, I got a LinkedIn message from someone I didn't recognize. The profile looked legitimate, mid-level manager at a regional development firm. The message was short. Heard you're taking on new clients. We need someone who actually reads contracts. Interested? I clicked on a company name. It was real. Annual revenue in the mid-8 figures. The kind of client Foster Construction used to dream about landing. I replied, send me the details. Within a week, I'd signed a 6-month consulting contract worth more than I'd made in my last full year at the family business. The work was straightforward. Audit their vendor agreements, identify cost overruns, clean up their procurement process. It was exactly what I've been doing for years, except now I was getting paid what I was actually worth. Lily helped me organize the files. You know they're going to hear about this, she said one afternoon, looking at the contract amount on my screen. Probably, I said. Does that bother you? I thought about it for a second. No, not anymore. She nodded and went back to her laptop. That night, I was closing up the office when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Liam Foster? A woman's voice, professional and clipped. Speaking. This is Jennifer Walsh from the State Department of Revenue. I'm calling regarding Foster Construction and Design. We have you listed as former operations manager. Is that correct? That's correct, I said carefully. We're conducting a formal investigation into financial irregularities at the company. We'd like to schedule a time for you to provide a statement. This would be voluntary, but could help clarify some discrepancies we've found. I sat down at my desk. What kind of discrepancies? Vendor payments, payroll allocations, ownership documentation. We've identified several patterns that don't match state filings. Your name appears on a number of the original contracts, so we thought you might have relevant information. I was quiet for a moment. I have documentation, I said finally. Everything from the last 18 months. There was a pause on her end. That would be very helpful. When can you come in? Tomorrow afternoon works. Perfect. I'll send you the address. And Mr. Foster? Thank you for cooperating. She hung up. I sat there in the dark office. Phone still in my hand. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't even satisfied. It just felt inevitable, like watching a building collapse that had been leaning for years. The next afternoon, I walked into a gray government building downtown, carrying a messenger bag with 2 flash drives and a binder full of printed documents. Jennifer Walsh met me in a small conference room. She was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with reading glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. Mr. Foster, thank you for coming in. This shouldn't take long. She pulled out a legal pad and clicked her pen. Let's start with your role at Foster Construction. I walked her through it. Operations manager. Handle bids, payroll, vendor relationships, client contracts. I'd effectively run the company for the last 7 years while my father handled business development. She took notes, nodding occasionally. And when did you leave? July. Voluntary leave that turned into permanent separation. Why did you leave? I chose my words carefully. There were disagreements about financial management and company direction. She looked up. Can you be more specific? I reached into my bag and pulled out the binder. I documented everything. Vendor invoices that didn't match actual suppliers. Payments to shell companies. Payroll irregularities. All time stamped and cross-referenced. I slid it across the table. She opened it and started flipping through pages. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her slow down on certain sections. This is very thorough. I'm careful, I said. She looked at me. Why didn't you report this earlier? Because they're my family, I said simply. I kept hoping they'd fix it themselves. She nodded slowly, like she'd heard that before. And these flash drives? Complete financial records. Everything I had access to before I left. Nothing's been altered, just organized chronologically. She took them and labeled each one with a sticky note. This is going to be very useful. We'll need to verify everything, but if this matches what we've already found. She trailed off. What happens now? I asked. We complete the investigation. If we find evidence of fraud, we refer it to the Attorney General's office. That's when things get more serious. I stood up. Is there anything else you need from me? Not right now, but we may call you back for additional questions. And if this goes to a legal proceeding, you might be subpoenaed as a witness. That's fine, I said. As I walked out of the building into the cold afternoon air, I felt nothing. No triumph, no guilt. Just the quiet certainty that I'd done exactly what needed to be done. I didn't destroy my family. I just stopped protecting them from themselves. By spring, the investigation had gone public. A small article appeared in the local business journal. State auditors probe local construction firm for financial irregularities. It didn't name names, but everyone in our industry knew exactly who it was about. The call started coming in. Other contractors I'd worked with over the years, asking if I'd heard anything. Former employees wanting to know if their back pay was coming. A few clients asking if their projects were still viable. I answered honestly every time. I don't work there anymore. You'll have to contact them directly. Then one morning, my phone rang at 6 a.m. It was Lily. Turn on the news, she said. I grabbed my laptop and pulled up the local station's website. The headline was already up. Local business owner charged with wire fraud and tax evasion. Robert Foster, 58, was arraigned yesterday on multiple counts of wire fraud, filing false tax returns, and conspiracy to commit fraud. The charges stem from a 9-month investigation into Foster Construction and Design, a family-owned business operating in the region for over 20 years. According to court documents, Foster and an associate allegedly created shell companies to divert customer payments and inflate expenses. The scheme allegedly resulted in over $200,000 in fraudulent transactions between 2023 and 2025. Prosecutors say the investigation is ongoing and additional charges may be filed. I closed the laptop. Lily was still on the line. You okay? Yeah, I said. I am okay. You know they're going to blame you for this. They already do, I said. Doesn't change what actually happened. She was quiet for a moment. For what it's worth, you did the right thing. I know, I said. Doesn't make it easier. But that wasn't quite true. It was easier. Not easy, but easier than lying would have been. The next few weeks were a blur of phone calls from reporters, messages from distant relatives I hadn't heard from in years, and a few awkward run-ins at the grocery store with people who didn't know what to say. I kept my head down and focused on work. My client list was growing. Word had spread that I was reliable, thorough, and honest, apparently rare qualities in the industry. One afternoon in late April, I got an email from Samuel Grant, the family attorney. Subject, personal matter. Liam, I'm reaching out in a personal capacity, not as the Foster's attorney. I've withdrawn from that representation. I want you to know that I reviewed the documents you provided to the state. Everything checked out. You documented exactly what happened. No exaggeration, no embellishment. I've been practicing law for 30 years, and I've seen a lot of family business disputes. Most of them end badly because nobody wants to tell the truth. You told the truth. That takes guts. I don't know if this means anything coming from me, but I think you made the right call. Take care. Samuel. I read it twice, then filed it in a folder labeled closure. In May, I got a single text from Olivia. The first direct contact in almost a year. Dad's trial is in August. Mom wants to know if you'll testify for him. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. If I'm subpoenaed, I'll tell the truth. That's all I can offer. She didn't reply. The truth was, I didn't want to testify. I didn't want to be in that courtroom, didn't want to see their faces when I explained what I'd found. But I also wasn't going to lie to protect people who'd never protected me. By summer, I'd moved into a bigger office. Still just me and Lily, but we had room for a small conference table and actual file cabinets instead of cardboard boxes. One evening, she brought in coffee and a folder of new client proposals. 3 more leads this week, she said. All referrals from existing clients. Good, I said, reviewing the numbers. We can handle 3 more. She sat down across from me. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you regret any of it? The wedding, the company, all of it? I thought about it for a moment. I regret that it had to happen. I don't regret how I handled it. That's a good answer, she said. It's an honest one, I replied. The trial happened in August, just like Olivia said. I wasn't called to testify. The documentation spoke for itself. The prosecution used my records as their primary evidence. Robert was convicted on 4 counts of wire fraud and 2 counts of tax evasion. Aidan took a plea deal and agreed to testify against him. He got probation and community service. Mom wasn't charged. Apparently, the prosecutors determined she hadn't been directly involved in the financial decisions, just willfully ignorant. The sentencing was in October. Robert got 3 years in federal prison and was ordered to pay restitution of $185,000. I didn't attend the sentencing hearing. I read about it in the paper the next day, sitting in my office with my morning coffee. Lily came in and saw the article on my desk. How do you feel? She asked. Tired, I said, but not guilty. Good, she said. You shouldn't be. That weekend, I drove out to the coast for the first time in years. I rented a small cabin overlooking the water and spent 2 days doing absolutely nothing. No phone calls, no emails, no spreadsheets. Just me, the ocean, and the slow realization that I finally stopped waiting for my family to acknowledge what I'd done for them. I didn't need their acknowledgement anymore. I had something better, proof that I'd been right all along. On the second night, I sat on the deck with a beer and watched the sunset. The water was dark and endless, and for the first time in as long as I could remember, I felt light. I thought about that text message from over a year ago. You're out of the wedding planning. Aidan thinks it's best. One line that had changed everything. I raised my beer toward the ocean. Thanks, Aidan, I said to nobody. Then I finished the drink and went inside to sleep. When I got back to the office Monday morning, there was an envelope on my desk. Plain white, no return address. Inside was a handwritten note on expensive stationery. Liam, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I deserve to ask. But I need you to know that you were right. About all of it. About Aidan, about Dad, about the company. I was too scared to see it, and too selfish to admit it. I'm getting divorced. Aidan moved out 2 months ago. Turns out he was still running schemes with money I didn't even know he had. Mom's living with her sister now. She doesn't talk about you anymore. I think she's ashamed, but she'll never say it. I'm working at a call center. It's honest work and I'm good at it. I'm paying back that loan, by the way. $500 a month, like the contract said. I'll have it done in 8 more months. I know I don't have the right to ask for anything, but if you ever feel like it, I'd like to buy you coffee. Not to apologize, I don't think sorry cuts it. Just to listen. To hear what your life is like now. You don't have to respond to this. I'll understand if you don't. Your sister, Olivia. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it back in the envelope. I didn't throw it away. I also didn't respond. Maybe someday I would. Maybe in 6 months, or a year, or 5 years, I'd be ready to sit across from her and hear her out. But not today. Today I had work to do. Clients who trusted me. A business I'd built on my own terms. A life that was finally completely mine. I opened my laptop and pulled up the day's schedule. 3 client calls, 1 proposal review, and a meeting with a potential new hire. Normal work. Honest work. The kind that let me sleep at night. They called it betrayal. I called it balance. I didn't abandon my family. I just stopped carrying them. And I walked away with something they'd never had. A clear conscience and clean books. That was enough.
Stay safe out there. Until next time.